see if I can.
And this field here is another part that's going to get burned and pollinated this spring.
What are those things on the deer over there?
Yeah, those are
Oh yeah, the whole family of them.
So it's probably deer that you saw, Jen,
Oh, okay.
not coyote. They wouldn't be that close together. Well, they might. I mean, a coyote might be this spring. Here, we also have 72 apple trees on the property too.
Oh, that's a lot of apples.
And most of them are wild grown, but quite a few of them I've gone back and grafted. I'm trying to get a bunch of starter, plugs from them to do a variety of like lion's mane and shiitake and some of the other mushrooms to be able to have a more diverse mushroom population out here. We do have chicken and hen of the woods out here, but it depends on the season. It depends on the year.
Yeah.
The conversation that I wanted to have today with you
Mm-hmm.
is just about peace of mind, acres, and color in the outdoors. And I think too, like our connection to the outdoors, like our relationship, how we are childhood friends,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Our entire lives.
Our entire lives.
Yeah.
And how we sit on the board of Rooted, and just all the things that, like how we interconnect, and also how we interconnect to nature and the outdoors.
Okay.
So will you start by introducing yourself, or you can introduce me and I'll introduce you.
So I would like to introduce you as
Oh.
my dear and close and lifelong friend, Jasmine Banks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
A wonderful human being who wears more hats than I could ever dream of wearing,
You're so sweet.
who is involved with boards and committees and community authentically in space that you don't take up, but you absolutely contribute to wherever you are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you are Christopher Kilgour, somebody that I've known forever. And funny thing is, I think we have always been connected, but we like completely reconnected
Mm-hmm.
through a lot of different channels. But
Mhm.
one of them was through the outdoors, like your love of the outdoors, and then inviting me to come along, really. So can you, and I think, right, like with you, you're somebody that knows all the stuff, right? From my lens, you're somebody who knows all the stuff. You have such a beautiful heart. You're an incredible human being. You're kind, you're funny, right? The wealth of knowledge that you have, you're like my phone-a-friend. And you're somebody who will make fun of me when I've gotten stuck in the snow.
Yes, I will. Yes,
Yeah.
I will.
So without further ado, here we go, right?
Here we go.
So can you talk about where we are?
So we are currently sitting in the Teaching and Learning Center out at Peace of Mind Acres, which is a property that was intentionally purchased with a close friend of mine, with the intent of it being not only a place to live, but a place to learn.
Okay.
And Peace of Mind Acres is the headquarters and home of Color in the Outdoors.
Okay.
Yeah.
And talk a little bit about Color in the Outdoors and when you started it, why you started it, and how has it evolved from the inception to now?
Ooh, we have not enough time.
Yeah.
But so Color in the Outdoors, I guess when you want to learn like the origin story, started when I was a kid.
Okay.
And I was adopted.
Okay.
And lived in Madison, grew up, on Tenney Park, right on the isthmus there, and was very fortunate to grow up in that natural space in and of itself. But more times than not, when I would be out playing in the park, when I would be at other places that we would travel, rarely did I see people that looked like me. And so I would always try to bring my friends with, because I was like, well, come on, let's go do this thing. So I can have more people that look like me and more people that are people that I know. And all too often, the responses I would get from folks was, well, we don't do that. And I was like, well, I'm part of the we, and I'm out here doing it. So yes, we do.
Yeah.
And I think that, as I continued to do more and more of that, and as I continued to have those types of even as a child, as I continued to have those conversations, I realized, like, no, we've always been doing this. And we meaning some of the folks that I, interacted and intersected with, they just had been told by someone along the way that was not the case. So it became really important, even when I was a young, adolescent and teenager, to really be intentional about trying to get as many people outdoors as possible. And honestly, also very selfishly so, because I wanted to go out and play in the outside. And I could only do it if I had friends with me half the time. So that's how Coloring the Outdoors really started. Is way back then. It started to develop more and more as I started to get into the professional realms of the other things I did in life, and seeing that no matter what facet of my career I was in, there were always both adults and youth who had not really experienced the outdoors the way that I did, and found that even with very small steps could get people engaged in outdoor space. And I'm not, I wasn't asking them to go sleep on the ground and eat twigs, as many people try to think that's what the outdoors means, but just taking a walk through the park, just spending some time outside. And, one of the lines I often use is, nobody ever goes inside for a breath of stale air. And so people go outside and they feel that. And I always say, like, when you're tired at the end of a day of being outdoors, even if you're not doing anything, that, we all say it's the fresh air that makes us tired, but I would argue that that may be part of it. But really what it is it's us allowing ourselves just to be, and allowing ourselves to let go of all the things that have been kind of weighing us down and wearing us out. So those types of things and those types of moments have always driven me to do as much as I possibly can outdoors and get as many people engaged in outdoor spaces, and pushed me to always learn more so that I could do my best to help, to quote the late great Jackie DeWalt, to lift as you climb, to constantly be bringing people along with you in that experience, because it's never been anything but positive for me.
Yeah. Funny thing is, I was going to get emotional when you mentioned Jackie DeWalt. So I knew Jackie when my daughter was in high school, a beautiful human being. So when you talked about we don't do that, right? Hearing Black folks say we don't do that, I often think about the reason why, and I'll just speak from, right, the things that I know or have learned, the history of Black folks in the outdoors, and the history of Black folks not being allowed to take up space in the outdoors. So I wanted to bring that up because I think that, can you talk about the creation or the intentionality of coming out to where you are in peace of mind and creating a space in the outdoors that's extremely safe, where people can be themselves and can, right, like gather, right? It's definitely a place where people of color can gather, feel safe, not have to worry about getting a side eye, right? Like, I've been in places like that in the outdoors where I'll sign up for an event and I'll be the only Black person there, and people won't speak to me, or they'll look at me like, I'm surprised you're here. But then when you come to peace of mind and color in the outdoors, the experience is completely different. So can you talk about, how do you create a space like that?
Another long answer. But I would say, I think the most important thing for me is the understanding of using the constant question, according to who. And so when people say this is a safe space, when people say anywhere they are is a safe space, or they feel comfortable, or the question that I constantly want to ask and want answered is, according to who? So to how do you create that? I constantly am asking people, how do you feel? What would you like? What do you see as being something that would make it feel more inviting? And you've been out here, your family's been out here, our friends have been out here, and that's what I'm always asking is, what do you think I should do differently? What did you like about this event or this experience, and what didn't you like, so that we can constantly change it. And then also, living unapologetically, and taking up space intentionally, and letting people kind of unlearn that narrative that people have constantly been believing, which is, this isn't for us, this isn't our space, we shouldn't feel comfortable, all the things, when in fact, It absolutely is. We have been here since time immemorial.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that oftentimes it is the community that allows people to then let their guard down a little bit and feel more welcome. And, I mean, without becoming too cliche, I mean, nature is one big family.
Yeah.
It is in and of itself its own ecosystem. And so how to create our own community and ecosystem within a larger one so that both can experience and enjoy the other has been really, really important. So how do I do that? I do that with signage. I do that with, with words. Sure. I do that with actions and saying, sometimes I think people are initially put off when they're like, well, can I? And I was like, you can have whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. This is your place too.
Yeah.
And, the old, your house is my house or my house is your house is really something I want to instill in people when they're here is, I want you to feel as comfortable that you can open the fridge and grab what you need. I want you to feel as comfortable that you can grab a dish as long as you clean it up. And just like you would when you're a family.
Yeah.
And so that's why we do often events surrounding food, because food is a great gathering spot and a great gathering medium. Breaking bread together, literally and figuratively, but then also creating space throughout the property, the physical space that can be for those who really want to go out and take a hike and get out on the trail and spend time outdoors for a long period of time. They can do that. Okay. But for those that want to walk 200 feet down to the water and sit on a bench and just be still and read a book, they can do that. And for those that don't even want to do that, they can sit inside the building and enjoy the company of others here and sit around the table and, laugh and eat and look out the window and enjoy nature that way, because that is also enjoying nature. And I think a lot of people miss that, is that you can still enjoy things from a distance. You have to do it at your own comfort level. Yep.
Yeah. So do you think that people need to come all the way out here to enjoy nature? Can you talk about that?
No, I think that this is one space that allows people to do quite a few things that maybe they wouldn't necessarily have experience in doing, and do things in a different space. But you can enjoy nature by literally looking out the window. Our mutual wonderful human being friend Dexter Patterson, I mean, that's pick up a pair of binoculars and bring the world to you. And you can do it. We always try to use the digital medium as an excuse, and we were talking about that earlier. That also can be an alternative that takes you away from versus pulls you into. And so looking out your window, opening your door, taking a walk on your front lawn, or in a park. There are a whole variety of ways to experience nature and experience the outdoors that are legitimately right outside your door. And also taking the time, taking an opportunity to reach out to others that may be involved in these types of things, where if you don't want to do it by yourself, you can do it with others.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Can you talk about the different events that Color in the Outdoors hosts, the different activities? So, I mean, I'll talk about my favorites, but you go first, right?
Oh, I want to hear your favorites.
Oh, so I'll say one of my favorites is ice fishing. So all of the things that you and I have done outdoors, I've never done before. Right. So, and we've talked about this before, that I feel extremely safe, right? You make me feel like it's okay to not know, because I think in some spaces you're expected to know a certain amount of or have a certain amount of information, right? And I feel comfortable enough to be in a space with you that that's not the case. It's like, okay, so you're here to learn, because I know your level of knowledge already, which is little to none when it comes to me in the outdoors and like all the excursions. So can you just talk about, so I'll say ice fishing is my favorite. Well, I'll say deer hunting, even though I think the stories of deer hunting are my favorite.
Sure.
I like to pheasant hunt, right? So that was my first ever learn to hunt, was with you when we did the pheasant hunt weekend. So can you just talk about, and I'll say full disclosure, right? Like I had never held a gun. I didn't have all the gear, like all of the stuff. And it was such an authentic way to introduce folks to hunting. So just talk about, because what I want people to glean from this is you don't have to know everything. You don't have to have all of the things. Because again, I think marketing does a really good job of making sure to keep folks
Oh, absolutely.
right?
Yeah. Well, and so, to address that, I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is they think they need to know, and they therefore don't ever learn.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, in all honesty, it's the folks who know the least that get the most out of it when they engage in these types of activities, because they're going into it with a new perspective and wide eyes and open ears, hopefully, right?
Mm-hmm.
And um, so that is one of the things that's very important, no matter what it is we're doing, whether we're doing a fishing, an open water fishing or ice fishing, whether we're doing hunting, whether we're hiking, whether we're foraging, whether we're doing learn to cook events, whether we're doing camping 101 and learning the basics of what it is to camp, when we're doing birding events and partnering with BIPOC Birding Club, when we're doing plant identification classes, when we're helping out with the Master Naturalist programs. These are all things where I really try to emphasize to people that the less you know, the more you can learn. Because you don't come in with this preconceived idea of, I already know that, so I don't need to pay attention to that part. When in fact, in many cases, what you may know may not be right, or may be limiting in your ability to learn more about whatever that topic or subject is. So I think that, I gave you a short list of the different activities. We have live music out here. We have food events, and we're always looking for more things. So one of the things that we're looking at expanding this spring is putting in these pollinator prairies on the property. So bringing people out to help with that process so they can see how that works. So maybe they want to do a smaller patch in their yard or their house, in their garden, whatever the case may be. They can learn those skills real time. And take them home, right? And that to me is the other part of this, is being able to take a piece of mind and take peace of mind home with you, right? And be able to say, I learned something today, whether that's a tangible skill or whether that's just a new way of perspective and thinking and feeling, right? I want it to be a positive and meaningful and lasting experience. So in terms of those different activities and outings, what I really do try to stress with folks across the board is, you don't need to know these things. And that's the whole point, is that this is a learn to event, whatever that event is. And we can tailor it, because you have some people that come in with some experience. We can tailor it to people that have previous experience, but more times than not, I think people still are going to learn, even if they consider themselves seasoned in whatever that skill set is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So talk about, what do you see for color in the outdoors? Right. So you started it so long ago, and there's been different iterations, right, along the way. I would love to know what your vision is, or what you see, or what your hope is for, and I'll say, right, folks of color. Like, what does that look like for you? So what is the legacy you want to leave? Because I'm fascinated by that.
I always have this kind of joking image of me sitting on a hilltop in a rocking chair at 110 years old, watching this whole entire property be enjoyed by a whole population of people doing their own thing, and in all their different ways, right? And I think to that point of legacy, my goal is to create a space and to create a movement. And I wouldn't say create, because the movement's here, been here, but to continue to cultivate a movement of inclusion, of experience, of learning, of sharing, of love. And I think that love is the underlying foundation of all of this, is love for humanity, love for our planet, and they are not separate. And I think that's another thing that we have to continue to remind ourselves, that we are all part of this planet, that it's not us living on it, it's us living with it. So I think my dream is to have color in the outdoors live long beyond myself and be shared by many others, ages, backgrounds, races, colors, and creeds, that they can continue to be stewards. And steward is a word that is used in this jargon, right? It's used in certain circles, but be caretakers of each other and of the land, of the planet. And I think that can show up in so many different ways, right? Like, it's something like sustainability and recycle, don't pollute, don't do these things, but also grow a garden, water a plant, pick up your trash, those are all intertwined. So,
all right. So I think we're going to wrap up. And when we do, I want to ask first of all, what is anything that you want to leave folks with that we haven't talked about? And can I just say one more thing that was fascinating to me?
Sure.
Being out there. When we went fishing one time and we went to the raspberry bush where they're in the garden, and we were digging in the dirt for worms. Like, again, right? Those are things that maybe we did as kids. Those are things that we are so far removed from because we've been told that those are things that we don't do, right? But that's who we are. Like, that's where we come from. And we've gotten so far removed from where we come from and the people that we are. So I had to say that because I couldn't believe that we were digging in the dirt for worms like when we were little kids.
Sure.
But then you think about like the folks that came before us, that's what they did, right? And we've just gotten so far removed. So, okay. So let me get back on track, but I just had to say that because it was important to me. But talk about what is it that you haven't talked about that you want to leave folks with? And we'll go from there.
Well, I think back to we've forgotten about it. And even something as simple as digging worms, picking berries off the bush, those types of things where people are like, oh, it's dirty, or oh, I don't want to get my hands dirty, or oh, this, or they would even say out loud, and I've heard this thousands of times, oh, my grandma or my grandpa or my auntie or my uncle, they used to do that. And of course, my question always is, well, why don't you still? And we often mistake the word we use as evolution or progress as detachment. Right? And detaching ourselves from these things that were just ingrained in who we are as humans, and somehow thinking that's progress. I think we're going backwards, right? So I would say, something I would like to leave people with is stepping perhaps somewhat outside their comfort zone to reconnect with the world around them. And ironically enough, that will also enable them to reconnect with people and themselves. And again, these things are all interconnected, but we've gotten so busy, we've gotten so tethered to our devices, we've gotten so convinced that the only way we can validate ourselves and those around us is by likes and clicks and scrolls and searches and all these different things. And in many cases, I look out the door, for instance, when I'm in Madison and I'm near the park and I see people walking by with their screens in their hands, completely paying little or no attention to the world around them. And I think, think about all the things that you're missing. Or you take people on a hike and they're all but power walking from point A to point B because they're conditioned to get to a destination and not enjoy the journey. And so those old adages, so those old sayings of like, enjoy the journey, it's not about the destination. And those types of things, that's what I would like to continue to remind people of, is to slow down enough, smell the roses, see the forest for the trees, all those sayings that ironically enough are all nature related. Right. But stay outside, breathe some air, and allow yourself to refocus. And you'll both have a micro and macro focus that will keep you, in my opinion, happier and healthier than perhaps where we've found ourselves now. And when we talk about the stressors of the world right now and the things that are going around and going on, taking a walk through the woods and recentering, the old saying I've said a million times, nature doesn't care. Nature doesn't care what you wear, doesn't care what your hair looks like, doesn't care what your job title is. It's still going to be here. And it's still going to accept you for who you are.
That's incredible. All right. Well, thanks for letting me hang out with you today.
Always love to have you.
Chit chat and have a conversation about just your impact, right, on your community and your impact on just the wellness of folks, I think is enormous. So just, thanks for being my homie. And
thank you for being my homie.
Absolutely. And thanks for letting me interview you today.
Absolutely.
All right.